first I want to thank you. Been on a path for a long time, and my life was already transformed, relatively speaking. But it's clear that what you have to offer is really can take me to the next level. I'm really grateful. For as long as I can remember, I have always really tried to do a good job at this life, you know. Mm-hmm. Always felt a great sense of duty and responsibility to just do the best that I can. But what that's looked like for me has been always focused on what it was that needed to be done, especially for my loved ones and my family, and you know, if I need to support my family, and that's just so I just do what needs to be done, and it's been with a complete disregard for myself. Mm-hmm. So I really heard you when you've talked about, you know, self-expression being necessary, and I have known that, you know, I mean, I came here with the intention of trying to fall in love with myself. You know, I've known that that's the work that I have. So it's kind of background. My question is really, and I think I know the answer, but it would be really helpful to have it confirmed, is just what is really the purpose or the function of awakening? And what I mean is it somehow a service and a duty, or if it's really just for us to be able to experience everything with more beauty. And just richness, if that's really what we're here for, well, it just really changes my motivation, you know. So maybe I just answered it, I don't know. I think you hear where I'm coming from.
No, I hear you loud and clear. What do you think? Because you did say that you think, you feel, you know. What do you think is the purpose? Do you feel, think, intuit? What do you think awakening is for?
As I'm sitting here, feels like it is just to fully experience love. In a capacity that's not the same, I guess, until we start like that.
That's beautiful. If that's the purpose, that it justifies all means already. If that's the purpose, bring it on. We can speak about this in many ways and certainly come up with a lot of justification in terms of what really this is, what awakening brings. But instead, I welcome you to consider this. Ultimately, nobody can tell you what's the purpose. You will have to discover that for yourself. That's the purpose. The purpose is in discovering for yourself. Many people who have traveled the path of various paths, have been on the path, have been seekers for a long time, become tired eventually, if they haven't found that, what they were seeking, or somehow it doesn't fit the idea, the understanding, the anticipation. I call that a jaded seeker, ready to settle on anything now, because it's tiring. So therefore, and sometimes it's like I'm tired from having this carrot dangling there that I walk towards constantly. Well, this is because of the misunderstanding of what awakening is and what is taking place. There are radical perspectives as well, that enlightenment doesn't make one's life better. This kind of unapologetic wake up in itself call, a reminder. Is that true or false? It's true to a degree, because in many ways, a true awakening can make one's life more difficult, because more will be asked of, more added on, to deal with, to begin with in terms of what is there to be processed, because one is capable. Simply because one is capable. And then also, if the awakening is not accompanied by all sorts of bypassing and ending up indifferent, then instead one is experiencing everything with greater sensitivity. So that doesn't make life easier. To be more sensitive, more experiencing everything more acutely. So the question rises, are we better off remaining in a slumber? And there are these also like spiritual teachers who, why do you need to awaken? The angry Krishnamurti one was notoriously skeptical about this whole thing. You know who I'm talking about? There was the Jiddu Krishnamurti, the famous world teacher who was trained by the Theosophic Society to become the world's leader, Madame Blavatsky's protege. And woke up in California in Ojai and then dissolved the whole community. Gathered them all together and said, you know what, folks? You know, you're expecting me to be a messiah? Nope. If I'm embedded with this power, I'm dissolving this order. What a letdown. And there was another Krishnamurti who is occasionally, I said, angry Krishnamurti, because that's how he has a nickname. Okay? UJ, spelled like U.J. Krishnamurti as his first. So they actually met, you know, and did not like really each other. So that younger, angry Krishnamurti was particularly disappointed with this whole awakening, with this whole ordeal. And so whenever he spoke to Western students, he was ending up losing it. And therefore, angry Krishnamurti stuck to him, you know. But a lot of what he was saying, not all, to be taken with a pinch of salt, what he was saying, but some of what he was saying there was a message as well. He was indeed, in my understanding, a deeply confused teacher, although a brilliant one nevertheless. I don't know how it's possible, but that is so. He purportedly came to Ramana Maharshi and, you know, and asked him blatantly, this enlightenment thing, can you give it to me? And Ramana Maharshi, like, suddenly gone, who's the heck this guy is talking to me like that? Yeah, I can give it to you, but can you take it? No, Krishnamurti got obviously woke up, packed his bag and left the next day. Like, okay, I don't care. If you can't give it to me, I'm out of here. But there is something that he said, you know, like when he asked Western audience back in the days, you know, why do you want to wake? Why? Why? You know, people flocked to see him, and he didn't create movement. There were just people following him. In Switzerland, I knew a lady for many years. She's based in Zurich. She's a wonderful friend going back to. We've met online not 20 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, 15, 16 years. And then physically met in Mallorca, you know. She knew, she's the one who actually worked with very, very big luminaries. She's been walking the path of Buddhism for many years. She brought, not known to anybody, Dalai Lama to very, you know, big audiences. And she knew Jiddu Krishnamurti. She organized meetings for him, even in her apartment, her house in Zurich. So she told me a lot of stories how he's like, he's, you know, relating to people would really tick him off. Westerners just ticked him off. But Indians completely, he couldn't stand them either. You know, so he was like, everyone is just off. And yet people followed him. They followed him, they listened and spent time with him. Because there was something about him. What was that? Integrity. He was not saying things that he did not mean. He was not saying things he does not know. He was saying only what he experienced, and that is integrity. How many teachers out there like that? Everyone blah, 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 endlessly. Endlessly saying something. And he had the guts to spoil the whole scene. Why do you want to wake up? Do you know what that entails? And he went through hell. Like painful Kundalini awakening. Painful. Jiddu Krishnamurti, the one who was senior in age, was suffering headaches all his life, spinal aches, spinal cramps, all. The most awakened sages of our time all suffered something. It's a painful thing to be fully woken, because body lags behind, constantly lags behind. And yet, there's no choice. There's no choice. In my experience, people wake up now. There's no choice. So therefore, I don't want to give you this like, oh, guess what? This and that. You will find out for yourself. Yes, we do speak here. When we sit like this, when we gather like this as a group, tremendous amount of things can be done. And it's not at all some kind of imagination. It's tested, tried. Brilliant and most brightest minds have ventured into this since the 60s, analyzing, scrutinizing, measuring, staging, seeing how consciousness can be activated, what happens to the collective field, how is it reflected. Slowly, too slowly. Groups of people who are given to this kind of programs of what we do here, where the field is enlivened in a matter of what? Please tell me, in a matter of what? Imagine if we sit like that. I often say, just for a record, imagine if we sit like that for 1 month. You know? And imagine if see? And not 30 people, but 300 at least. And 300 is not a lot. 300 instead of 30. It's the force to reckon with. No need for French revolutions, no need for Russian revolutions anymore. No need for any kind of political parties anymore. No need to become Republican or Democrat. No need to be involved. Every change in society is made here, at the pinpoint of consciousness, and without even trying. I mean, without even having to, where are we going to navigate? Who is driving the consciousness bus? So, bottom line is that there's nothing that is useful in awakening, in terms of what that term is. But what you said earlier when I asked you, you answered it all. If only we can love just a bit more, and there is more love, justified. All the pain justified, all the trouble justified, all the sacrifices justified. All that what one would have to face with is justified because more love came into the world through you. What more can we ask? Please tell me. Is there anything we can ask? As the mother, you should know that more than me. That's why I've asked you, what do you think? So, everything else will be answered and experienced by you, and you will tell others when they come to you for guidance, reassurance, and you will look into their eyes, and you will say very few words, but from your place, not from book, or what I said, or someone else said, or someone else's. And this is it. It's enough. It would be enough. Simple, isn't it? Thank you. Thank you for bringing this out into the open.